As I mentioned to someone earlier on, I've given probably a similar presentation to this in the last 18 months about 20 times, all interstate mostly, and to a variety of aged care, disability, home care, technical sort of places. And everybody leaves this presentation amazed at what a aged care facility in Tanunda in the beautiful Barossa Valley have achieved over the last 4 years. So just maybe a little bit about myself, or have you all read my bio? So my bio is about this long. I actually started life coming from a large family from Port Pirie, South Australia. I'm number 4 boy, and I'm lucky enough to have 4 sisters, all younger than me. We had 4 nurses in the family, my mother, 2 of my sisters and myself. Been a nurse for over 45 years. I've been a military nurse, registered nurse, enrolled nurse, psychiatric nurse, and my love is to give back to the community through my nursing, and at the moment it's through aged care. But I've gone one step further than that, and that is I actually want to start trying to do something about the workforce and the safety of the workforce in an increasing difficult aged care sector. So let's get into the presentation. This slide just tells you all the issues around quality, safety and risks within the aged care sector. And it really comes down to the fact that the aged care sector really is struggling to find enough people to do the work in aged care. And I actually believe that a lot of the work that we're doing in aged care doesn't need to be done by people. It can in actual fact be done more efficiently and safer by machine. And those machines are called robots. If you have a look at the census that was done last, we had over or nearly 500,000 people on work cover as a result of lifting, pushing, pulling, and 66% of those staff needed to take time off, and every level of work cover costs money. So why did I introduce robots? Well, I ascertained in my facility that because of the physical side and the environment of the facility at Lutheran Homes Barossa, it's actually almost a kilometre from one end to the other. We've got our own centralised kitchen and centralised laundry, and my staff were pushing trolleys to the tune of about 9,000 kilometres a year. As a result of that, we had neck, shoulder, elbow, back sort of work cover issues. And so my point was, well, I'm sure we can do that better. And when you start looking at infection control, the number of places that staff touch just to go through a door or something, go up and down the lift, is also things that we took into consideration. So that's what 9,000 kilometres look like. If you were to push those sorts of trolleys from Adelaide to Sydney, Brisbane, Cairns, down through Alice Springs and over to Perth, I'm sure you'd probably be on work cover by the end of it. So that's what we're trying to prevent. These are what I call our workhorse type robots. These two here is what I refer to as trucks. So the truck robots lift and carry any sort of trolley, a linen trolley, dirty linen trolley, clean clothes, or food, hot and cold food, or dirty dishes that come back from the kitchenettes. The one in the middle is in actual fact an infection control robot. It actually emits quite a strong UV light. So it'll go down a corridor and it will disinfect the corridor and the floor. This is what our food containers look like. Hot on the bottom, cold on the top. And these are our 2 cleaning robots, a dry one and a wet one. A lot of contention about whether you should use a wet cleaning robot in a public space, and we can talk about that later. This is our favourite robot. This is what we call Poppy, because Poppy pops in and out of all the office spaces delivering our coffee or our morning tea from the cafe. So you just pick up the phone and order it. It's put on Poppy and Poppy brings it to us. We only have one person in the cafe. If he had to deliver everybody's morning and afternoon teas and so forth, he'd never get any work done. These are again just some of the trolleys that we utilise with the robots. All our robots are controlled by keypads on the wall throughout the facility. And these are the next level of robots. Probably the most commonly known one is Paro the seal. Paro is what we call a comfort robot. The more you talk to or stroke Paro, the more it interacts with you. And it's the big eyes that suck people in. It's cute and cuddly. It vibrates, it squeaks and squawks, flaps its little flippers and its tail. And it is used predominantly with our dementia residents, particularly if they're feeling anxious. Then we have what we call Temi. Now, Temi is a robot that's been developed in Singapore. It's actually probably now worldwide, certainly well used through Asia and America. Temi is our concierge. So Temi sits in our reception area, and as people walk towards it, it wakes up and it says, "Good morning, welcome to Lutheran Homes Barossa. Please follow our infection control processes. If you have any doubts, please go to the reception." It will also have some buttons on the screen, and if you push one of those buttons, it will actually escort you to the hairdresser or to the cafe or to the physio or to the chapel. We're actually going to the next level where Temi will do tours. And so we do a lot of tours of people walking, needing to see what our facility's like. And so Temi, at the push of a button, will take someone for a complete walk around the facility. And if the hairdresser's closed, it'll play a video and say something. If the cafe is closed, and 9 times out of 10 when we do videos, all these places are closed because that's the quietest part of the day. And so Temi will be used for that. It will also be developed into telehealth, doing consultations from the bedside. It's also going to be a roaming surveyor, as in it'll have a number of questions and people can just push buttons, just similar to what you see in the OTR. And it'll also be a resident to family contact mechanism as well. So a lot is being developed with Temi. But we're here mainly to talk about Abby. Now, Abby is a robot that was developed by an 18-year-old who, through COVID, got lonely. And so as a studying robotics engineer, she built her own robot. That lady is now 24 and she's now employing about 50 people. She's just moving into a huge warehouse where she is now mass producing Abby out of Melbourne. Now, the main thing is at the moment, it's still very much in the development phase. Even over the last 6 months, it's developed quite a lot. The features of the Abby include it can blow bubbles. It's very important for kids and elderly people. It can sing and dance, still very important for kids and elderly people. It can use facial recognition. It can recognise you today and the conversation you have with the robot today, it will remember that and remember you tomorrow and to continue on the discussion. So it has the ability to actually build up a rapport with residents, and that's what we will be developing over the next couple of years. The Abby is now totally mobile, whereas previously it had to be carried to point A, point B, but now someone could push a button, Abby will wake up and go to that room and have a chat with that person. And again, what we're trying to do is over a period of time, whatever interactions Abby has with a resident, that we can download that information into some sort of report that we can share with the family to say, Mrs. Smith has had all these interactions with Abby the robot, and this is the sort of things that they've talked about, because so often we unfortunately get reports that Mrs. Smith hasn't seen anybody for weeks, knowing full well that we know Mrs. Smith sees someone at least every day. So things will happen. So a lot more happening about that. Abby can speak 90 different languages. When we trialled the Abby on site, they asked me, is there anything special you want the robot to do? And I said, well, we are a Christian organisation. Is it possible to have a robot with a Christian ethos? And the engineer looked at me blankly, said, I'll see what we can do. So when we trialled Abby, she said, go and ask her a Christian question. And it didn't matter what question we asked out of the Bible or whatever, it could, like that, answer the question. She said, now take it down to the dining area and get it to say grace. And I took it down to the dining area and it put its little arms out and said, can everybody come into a quiet space? Put its head down and said, I'm about to say grace for lunch. And it said a very appropriate grace and had a little quirky end on it, which was also very nice. So the residents loved it because we've got German residents. They tried out the German and it's very good with German. But the big thing that they liked about the robot, if they asked a question of the robot would answer. Whereas the truck robots or the Paro, the Seal or Temi, if you ask them a question, they don't answer. Whereas Abby will and does, and that is the big cruncher. So the advantages of using robots are all there. It saves time. Currently, my 2 truck robots are doing about 60 robot trips a day. It is saving about 4 hours of human work per day. That's probably saving me in the realm, in an aged care sense, probably about $200,000 a year. That doesn't go to my bottom line. It's actually going back to my clinical staff and catering staff and laundry staff to actually do their jobs that little bit better because they're not wasting their time pushing trolleys endlessly from pillar to post. The robots are very polite. Our robots travel, and I'll show you a video at the end of this. Our robots are very polite, as in they don't run into people and they don't run into any of the environment. They have enough sensors. They have 360-degree sensors where they stop before they hit anything. And it really does make a difference. They reduce touch points, so infection control's better. And we're sort of hoping down the track that we can clearly demonstrate that we have actually reduced staff injuries and reduced our work cover costs, and hopefully that will assist in reducing our staff turnover. But there's a lot of lessons that have been learnt over the 4.5 years that I've been going through this journey, and it's all about technology trying to keep up with itself. Our biggest issue is I don't believe the robotic industry is keeping up with technology. And I use the demonstration of Wi-Fi. We have Wi-Fi 6, and we've just sort of upgraded from Wi-Fi 5 to 6, and with a flick of a switch I could go to 7. The trouble is our robots work on 2.4. Some of our robots work on Wi-Fi 6. And so there's issues with about where or how old the technology is in the robots. There are robots that talk to a server on site. There are robots that talk to the cloud. There are robots that need to be manually mapped to the environment. There are robots that can be brought into my facility and turned on, and from straight away, the more you move it around the facility, the more it's mapped it. And so there really is big differences in the technologies, and it really comes down to there needs to be a lot more research and development, and there needs to be a lot more work done by the robot people, because it all comes down to, are there any robot people here? Any engineers, software engineers? Because it's a fight between a software engineer and the robotics people. It comes down to the robotic people think they could build robots better than the software people. So they really do need to come together and try and think. Technology, return on investment, I'm still trying to find someone who's got enough smarts to be able to assist me through, well, what is the return on investment equation and what can we put in it to actually clearly demonstrate that there is a true return on investment. I believe there is, but I've yet to be able to physically put together that sort of equation. So what's the future of technology? Look, it's all about AI. It's all about how smart the robots can get, and it's all about what data I can get out of the robots to be able to support the reason why the robots are in the aged care facility in the first place. There is clinical use of AI coming. There's the social use, as I've mentioned with the Abbey. Again, through security cameras and so on, we can actually have a camera looking down a long corridor, and it will be watching a resident coming towards the camera, and it, through the AI, will be able to tell someone if the gait of that resident isn't safe. And it can, in actual fact, with the AI now, predict when someone's going to fall. Back to the use of clinical AI, there are robots that could scan this room today, and if you were all sitting here tomorrow, it would scan it again, and one of you would have had a medical incident overnight, and the robot would pick it up. So it'd just need to tap you on the shoulder and say, might be time to go to the GP. So it's that sort of things coming. Clearly, business AI and trying to make efficiencies and things is also coming through. So to finish, and you've probably got 1,001 questions, there's just a bit of music playing in the background. This robot was actually designed and built in Hong Kong. Our robots all have access to open sliding doors. The robots connect with the trolleys. They don't lift the trolleys. The dots on the floor indicate where the trolleys are located, so the robot always knows where to come. Robots can go up a 15-degree angle corridor. Now that took some organisation to do that. As you can see, they can in actual fact manoeuvre around obstacles. They can also go up and down a lift by themselves. So we can also see on a map where the robots are around the facility so no one gets lost. One of the biggest issues in aged care is the weight of dirty linen, and so the robots are in actual fact able to carry in excess of 100 kilograms in weight. And the robots have always got somewhere to go back to sleep. So our cleaning robots would go off at 2 o'clock in the morning. 2 of them, one would go first and would sweep and vacuum, and then slightly after that the vacuum and wet scrubber would go, and within 2 hours they could clean 100 square metres of corridor within that 2 hours each. So the good part about doing it between 2 and 4 o'clock, there's no residents around, very little staff around, and so it's not considered a high risk with using wet scrubbers in public areas. Thank you.